Welcome, everyone. It's very good to see you all. We're so delighted to have Ajahn Kovilo and Ajahn Nisabho with us again this morning. Um, it's been really a lot of fun building the Kuti together with so many wonderful people from the Clear Mountain community and also people from the KBV community who have come to help. It's been really, really wonderful. And I think the thing that has made a big impression on me during this last couple of weeks has been not just that we're doing this, not even just that we're doing this together, but in the way in which people work together. Just so much warmth and kindness and care. It's really been sweet. Yeah. And as you know, maybe all of you know, I've been um, really reflecting a lot on the things that Ajahn Ganha has talked to us about, to Ayya Cittananda and me, and in general in his teachings. You know, things like take the Dhamma as the basis for your life instead of the sense of self, and be kind for the sake of kindness, and practice for the sake of practice, and work for the sake of work, and those kinds of things. And also listening to Ajahn Sumedho a lot as he's talked about the way he's used reflection and the way he's experiencing the insights he's had, and so when we were doing this building, and I was thinking about trying to accomplish this and realizing that really there's nothing we need to accomplish when we think about it in terms of the self accomplishing something. And then when I proposed this as a topic, and we were just chatting online before the monks came, and Ajahn Nisabho wrote back, and nothing to accomplish ... except for building two monasteries and a kuti and getting enlightened. And that's it. It's like we're constantly, regardless of whether we are doing something really good, really wonderful, that mentality of accomplishing, and we do on a practical level, we are accomplishing things at a time as human beings. It goes back to the most primitive, I think, existence as human beings, because we're in this body that needs things. So I could imagine, being a hunter-gatherer and accomplishing uh, killing this animal to have something to eat, or gathering, you know, nuts, berries, root vegetables, whatever, miner's lettuce, whatever. And, it's like you're accomplishing getting what is needed to keep your body going. You accomplish finding a mate, you accomplish, and I feel like we can't really avoid that mentality. It's just natural. It's natural to want to accomplish getting the room cleaned, or whatever it is that's on our to-do list, or whatever it is we hope to achieve. And then it's also really um natural to reflect upon our accomplishments, and I think it's good to feel good about them. um when we start to transcend or develop more of a layer beyond this material world, and we start to see how personally accomplishing can bring stress, how this idea of Ajahn is saying, make whatever you're doing a gift. Let it be a gift. Then you start to feel this non-self thing. So my original thought about this morning is that we'd start with 10 to 15 minutes of meditation. And now that I've kind of given you this kind of idea of my suggestion for reflection this morning, but you don't have to take it. I want to turn this over to Ajahn Nisabho, and maybe we can have some guided meditation. Thank you.
Just to also begin by saying how much we appreciate being here with you too. It's been such a joy. People will see photos soon enough, but just to see our sisters and work with you, and yeah, this friendship between our two communities and just us two, four monastics together is quite precious to us. So it's been wonderful and too short.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
so begin by setting your body upright, making sure to draw the lower spine in so it serves as a bit of a spring for the upper spine. Press the top of the head up to the sky. Drop the chin slightly. Notice any tension in the eyes. Soften. In the forehead. Soften. Jaw, soften. Smile on the inside of your mouth. Soften any tension in the belly. Just allow breathing to deepen and slow. Coming to center. Now, before launching into any sort of technique or complicated instruction, just establish that basis that is so important in meditation. Just a gentle sense of friendliness for yourself, for the experience. May I be well. Allow that gentle brightening to be a touchstone and a guide if you lose that friendly orientation. You can remember what it feels like a good companion or a small dog you keep beside you. Now, instead of any approach of meditation which is involved in accomplishing anything, we're going to be orienting towards letting go. Instead of acquiring an acquisition, relinquishment. And we do this by applying the Four Noble Truths in order to the body. So notice where there's tension in your body. Almost always at the beginning of meditation and often throughout, be a sense of tension in the head, the forehead, or the eyes. This is dukkha. Allow the mind to coalesce around that point of tension, the first noble truth of recognizing dukkha. And like a knot in muscle pressed with the thumb, the mind will crystallize around it and then release. Release the knot, release the tension. Equivalent of the second noble truth. You can even invite, say, what do you need to release? Or sometimes it's as simple as just letting go of tension in the eyes. And often when that knot of tension is released, you'll find a spacious awareness, often the mind dropping into the torso, a sense of spaciousness and peace. The third noble truth, cessation. And in that spaciousness, devoid of knots of tension, you might find you can really feel naturally the breath rising up on the inhale and rushing down the body in the exhale into the lungs or out of the lungs. The energy rising and falling. Just allow the mind to follow that energetic circulation, nourishing, refreshing, almost massaging the body. You can think of this as the path, the fourth noble truth, movement, wholesome movement. And then as much as you want, just repeat that cycle, remaining with each truth as long as it feels relevant. Notice when a point of tension arises, first noble truth. Allow the mind to coalesce and relax that point of tension, second noble truth. When it disappears, the mind should suddenly touch a sense of spaciousness, third. And in that sense of spaciousness, a natural fluid movement of the mind becomes apparent, or the breath, fourth. That all feels too complicated, just try to relax tension you feel. And release the mind into a place of rest.
Thank you, Ajahn. That was lovely. So picking up again on this idea of um, with nothing to accomplish, that can sound like, oh, then I'll just be lazy. But that's not the point. That doesn't work. Um, to me, that would be depressive. So really, really looking at. I want to invite you to really look at times when um, we're doing something for the sake of doing it and not for the sake of the self becoming something or wanting to get rid of something. It kind of comes, for me, it kind of comes back to the second noble truth where, is this about, is there anything here that I'm trying to get in terms of experience or um, some way to gratify the self or um, some way to get rid of something I don't want, not become, or yeah, Vibhavatana. And I was, when I answering this question for myself, like, when has this happened? I thought about two different instances that just to share as examples, because once in a while, I think any of us has an experience of kind of this sense of self getting out of the way and really just experiencing something. And in these two examples, for me, it was something good, it was something that had a really sort of uplifting effect for me. And one of them, when I was taking care of someone who was close to me after a surgery that they had, and I stayed with them in the hospital, and I could um, just focus on what they needed from one thing to another without, I took care of my own needs too, of course. I ate, I slept. Um, but to have that mindset of just being there to see what needs to be done next and doing it with a kind of care um and when I it kind of gives me a sense of what Ajahn is talking about when he says, just have sati, samadhi, and panya all the time. Like you've got the mindfulness. It's not focused on getting anything. It's not focused on being anything. It's kind of like the sense of self kind of becomes invisible. And I think it made an impression on my mind in part, both as the next example I'm going to offer too, because it's protracted. Like it wasn't just a few minutes. It's like you're doing this for days. And it had such a wonderful heart feeling to it and a calm. And then the other experience was a few years ago. I got an email from Ayya Santussika at like 11 o'clock at night, something like that. And she and Ayya Santussika were they were teaching a retreat at Spirit Rock every year. And Ayya Santussika got sick the opening day of the retreat, and she was really sick. Um, and there they had 100 people, and Ayya Santussika opens the retreat on her own, and at 11 o'clock at night, she's thinking, oh my gosh. And there were definitely quite a few people on the retreat that would benefit from having some attention. And so she wrote to me and she said, is there any chance you could come to help? And so I saw it and I thought, okay, I can sleep for a while and then just go. And I went and I got there in time for breakfast. And that whole day was just like that experience with taking care of this person. It was like, what can I'm just here to serve. I'm just here to do whatever in this moment, in this meeting with the staff, in this meeting with people, retreatants. My Ananda Bodhi asked me if I would give the Dhamma talk that night, and in every part of it came out of this sense of this is a gift, I guess. I really like when Ajahn Ganha talks about that, you do this as a gift. And it didn't have stress. It didn't have like, oh, is this Dhamma talk going to be? And this is not true all the time. I'm sorry to say. It's like, what are they going to think? It's like, because I feel like that's the natural place that, well, I don't know about your mind, but, it's a natural place my mind can go. Am I doing okay? Or whatever. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that either, because that's just how our deep conditioning is to be concerned with how we're doing and monitoring that and trying to do something, trying to be something. And I don't think it's helpful to be negative about that, but then to see that there's something else that doesn't have this pressure or tension or stress and really beautifies the mind. So I'm just interested in what you three might think of that. And it's, yeah, whatever you'd like to share. You want to say something, Ajahn? Would you be willing?
I know. I appreciate the prompt of there's nothing to accomplish, and I like it because it's a challenge. Just because in Buddhism there actually is like there are suttas and ways to read it that there is a lot to accomplish. There's a lot to do, and it's one of the difficulties, balances of practices not leaning over into the side, falling off of the cliff face of accomplishing, leaning completely into the future versus this falling off the other edge of the cliff, which is just completely turning off. Okay, I'm done, did my work, and just crashing out
Yeah.
and actually staying on this, okay, awake, as you said, Ajahn Ganha, this mindful with concentration and wisdom. And yeah, I think it comes into play. I thought the examples you gave were beautiful. And for me, one of these ways to accomplish uh, the practice of non-accomplishing is just like in any conversation. It's easier to do than to not do. And yeah, in a conversation, it's easier to just speak and speak and speak, or to just turn off and not listen at all, but to actually actively be awake and listening is a practice of the doing of non-doing. You're not turned off and you're not just self, you're not just full mode self, and you're not just annihilating yourself, but actually present and listening. And it's almost like until one is good at that skill, it's like you'll have a moment of, okay, I'm actually present and listening. And then you'll be many moments of selfing. And then it's like back and forth. And, I think the Lumpur Sumedho, Ajahn Amaro, and certainly way back before them is just the practice of listening as a meditation object. You don't find it so explicitly highlighted in suttas, but listening and receiving, a receptive practice is one of, yeah, the whole function of listening is one of not doing. Like there's nothing that I'm doing in this listening process. It's just a complete receiving. And there's an interesting analog comparison parallel with seeing. Like oftentimes it feels like we're going out to create the world or we have to manipulate the whole visual sphere around us. Whereas the way that light and vision works is it's completely receptive. It's the light from the bulbs or the light from the sun bouncing off of everything that we see and coming to us. It's a completely receptive practice. So the non-accomplishment of seeing, the non-accomplishment of just hearing, and the non-accomplishment of listening are all real practices, which, to talk about a practice of non-practice is a little bit counterintuitive, but you have to do it. The Buddha said there's three modes of practice, and you only find it in a few places, but he did say three modes are the mode of virya or effort, the mode of concentration, and the mode of equanimity. The mode of virya, so the mode of doing and accomplishing, the mode of concentration, which is refinement of that, and the mode of equanimity. And he said that there's times for each one of those. And it's so easy when you first come to practice to see, okay, I have to get my precepts in order. I have to get my generosity in order. I got to get my concentration in order. And yeah, you do that. And it's like taking on any skill. Like you're working, if you're first taking on being a carpenter, you're just working at hacking away. And there's a lot of gross physical muscle movement, which is involved with, getting the larger chunks off of the piece of wood, or, the getting the sound just right on a violin, or getting your strokes just right so you're not drowning or flailing. But then you get better and better at woodworking or the violin or the piano or the swimming, and you're using your muscles just much more efficiently. That's moving from this realm of virya, of efforting, the flailing, into this effort of concentration. And then you're getting much more into flow, the flow of the violin. It's like I'm not even doing it. The flow of the woodwork, and you feel it. There's a joy there. It's a great word, autotelicism or autotelic. Telic means telia. Telios is having an end or having a goal. And auto is like atta, self. So in the moment is the end in itself. So the goal is the path, taking the goal as the path. It's intrinsically motivating. The moment of swimming, you're completely in a flow state, or when samadhi and wisdom just merge and it's no longer me, or just in a very deep conversation or just a very deep listening. It's like, okay, I'm completely with you, even if just a moment. And then the very next moment is me reciting what I want to say next. Okay, but then shifting back into this mode, this autotelic, inherently, yeah, this is enjoyable just to be able to listen and to be with my friend, going from doing to being. So yeah, it's a really good practice and seemingly difficult, but it doesn't have to be, because it's just happening.
Yeah.
Hearing is happening. If you've got your eyes open, vision is happening. Consciousness is happening. Consciousness is happening. And there's nothing to do to shift into just knowing. You just have to, slightest movement of getting out of the way. Um, just a few thoughts, but very great.
Thank you.
Good theme. Very good theme.
I really you triggered this memory for me of well, you know my son pretty well. He really is a talker.
He's good at talking.
He's good at talking.
Yeah.
And when I'd come to visit him after not seeing him for a long time, he would just talk and talk and talk. And if I listened that way, then when he was finished talking, I felt like had been in samadhi the whole time.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. It's awesome. But it really does require that not wanting to like interject anything. There wasn't any space for that anyway. It was great. There was a great learning experience, like, oh, just forget about whatever I want to say. It's okay. And that letting go is helpful. Oh, thank you.
That's beautiful. I love that.
I don't think he will mind. He won't listen to this. I don't think he would mind my saying. Yeah, thank you.
Ayya Cittananda, Ajahn.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, scissors, papers.
You first.
Oh, you can't deny it. I got paper, scissors.
Oh no, I won. I get to choose.
No.
Oh,
That's
Well,
right.
yeah. Well, no.
I'll go. I'll go. It's okay. That's fine. Thank you, Ajahn. No, it's a fun reflection about listening because if you're all taking turns Dharma talking, you're all like, okay, what am I? Oh God, what am I going to say? How am I going to compare? It's all there. And yeah, I think honestly, those moments of, I think the Four Noble Truths order is just so meaningful. Like just coming back to that teaching again and again, where if I think one way to look at why the Four Noble Truths are ordered that way is if you're in that place of dukkha and compulsion and like, what am I going to say? And acting from that usually has that sense of self and, especially like in a very heated situation or just that, or FOMO or whatever it is, like that vibrating wound, which is compelling. And whenever you act from that, it always, I find, it's very interesting, being in social environments and just feeling how when you act on that and go out, like Ajahn Dun said, the source of suffering is the mind going outside of itself. And you just lose your potency, you lose yourself. And that if you manage to just be with that dukkha and just be like pull in, often I'll, take 5 minutes and just sit with myself and close my eyes. Um, you find yourself again. It's right there. And then, there's that release of suffering. And then the third noble truth is there where there's a moment of peace. And then the path kind of reveals itself and it from a completely different place in the heart. Like it's a much deeper movement, where suddenly you're able to move from a place that doesn't feel like self in the same way. Um, and I find what's so, when you're in that place of the peace and the path, it's so easy to move from there. But the real clincher is remembering when you're in the first noble truth and that, your duty in that moment is to just not act from compulsion and not act on craving. Um, so when I think about there's nothing to accomplish, yeah, like we've all said, there's plenty to accomplish in this one sense, like the Buddha spoke about his teaching as a Viryavada, a teaching of effort. But, there's this word apprehend, which is very left-brained. It means to go and get something. And then there's comprehend, which is to integrate and bring wholeness, and that's right brain. And this sense of like more and more Dharma feels like you're integrating all these levels of patterning in yourself. And when you compromise your sila or there's a karmic push, you know that like one level of patterning is kind of broken from the deepest resonance above, speaking of playing the violin, it's from like the resonating chamber. Um, and trying to resist that. And, to note that like someone was talking recently about, in thermodynamics, there's this principle in life called negatropy, which is like the tendency of life to complicate and proliferate and gather energy to itself and heat up. Um, and the Dharma is a path of coolness. And I thought about how like most things, when you apply pressure, they heat. Except a perfect crystal, often, if you apply pressure, it turns that heat into electricity, basically. And it strikes me that like a lot of our task in Dharma is keeping our structure pure. And then the heat of the world pressurizes it. But instead of just heating up, it's somehow transmuted into something light and brilliant. And in some sense, there's no movement there. It's all, you're just maintaining this still centered place. I mean, and there are times where you want to, you know, arouse energy, and the Buddha spoke about, but right effort, so often for us people raised in the West or in modern globalized culture, our fault is too much effort of doing and clenching the brow. And the proper leaning in Dhamma is to realize, is to notice this grace of movement. And I think that's a really like, I think until Theravada Buddhism gets its head around the word grace more, like it's the most beautiful word in the English language, I think, because it implies forgiveness, it implies humility, it also implies like a fluidity of movement that aligns with conditions in each moment and harmonizes with Dhamma. And um, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, somehow right effort as a grace of movement, and that doesn't come from self or accomplishment. It comes from a sense of integrating in line with the law of Dhamma and Dhamma titata, Dhammadiyapata, Itapachayata, this, that conditionality. Um, so something along those lines. I find if I have too much coffee, it really that's
Leaning.
I'm leaning in and out. Um, yeah.
We really have this thing of like, how much coffee is the right amount of coffee to give a really good Dhamma talk? If it's not enough, say, if it's too much,
Just right.
I really loved what you said about grace, and it reminded me of being at the Mangalang Center when we used to have these Tripitaka chanting gatherings there in Berkeley, and Bhikkhu Bodhi was giving a talk, and someone asked if there is any reference to grace in the suttas or in the Buddha's teachings. And he said in two ways, and I can only remember one, which is really aggravating. Sorry. But the one I remember was that he says he experiences a way in which grace just comes into the moment and carries you. It's part of the spiritual experience. And he said it's like the wind in a sail. You can't see the wind, but you know that there's the movement.
Mm-hmm. I want another Polly word for that one.
Cool. I think everybody would say that. Wow.
Wow.
Did you get the coffee level right?
No.
Being last is the hardest.
Yeah, but I have no like, I mean, the bar is very high and I don't care. So
There's some non-self there, boy.
this is not
Hopefully
Gracie graceful. No grace here. Yeah, but I do love a checklist. Like how many people love a checklist? Just me? Everybody. Okay. So, like, yeah, it's a good opportunity when next time you write a checklist to like be like, okay, but not going to like accomplish in that way, kind of use it as a good reminder because it's endless, these checklists. It's never gonna stop. Next lifetime doesn't matter. You're still gonna be writing checklists. So it's like learning, I think Ajahn Kovilo maybe it said this yesterday about the balance. Was it you? I don't know. Balancing sort of like both sides of this. Like, yes, there are things to do. And Ajahn then has like, yeah, do the work for the sake, like the work is the happiness and the happiness is the work. So learning how to do tasks in a way that you're really not like invested in them as like this is my job or this is my thing to do or like I have to do this kind of things coming from that sense of self and just doing it for the sake of it needs to be done or whatever, like this is what's at hand. And I loved what you said about like the visual perception, like it applies to all the other senses too, of like even the mind, like looking for the clinging and being able to see it without all of the overlay and like to be with it in that same way as you would like looking at the carpet, say, or whatever it is. It's just like this is what it is. And there's no judgment and there's no expectations of yourself or anything else. You're just kind of like, this is what it is, and learning to let go in that way. And I think if you have to accomplish something, if it's letting go like all the time, because we do have to have the chanda of, like there is desire. We have to want to practice. We have to want to do anything before it gets done. But if it's done in that way, if not clinging to the sense of self, not clinging to the results. Sometimes people are like, yeah, you have to. I mean, someone asked me once, like, all right, when you do something and do you just do it and not worry about the results? Like don't. And I was like, yeah, you can't really worry about that. And somebody else there was like, no, are you kidding? You have to worry about, like, you want to get the thing done right and you have to have a good result. And I'm like, well, not necessarily. I mean, you put in the effort and the care and the mindfulness is all there and you do what you can while you're performing a task, but stuff happens. And if you cling to that result, you're gonna suffer. So I think at the time I gave the example of, like, if a surgeon goes in and performs like a surgery on somebody's knee, like knee surgery, because that's what I used to do a lot in the hospital, was like orthopedics, neurology, and trauma floor. So there are a lot of knee surgeries. And sometimes, someone has knee surgery, but there are risks and they have a heart attack and die despite everybody's best efforts in the operating room. Like there's nothing you can do. And if the doctor is like really clinging to this, um, got to get it done. Knee has to heal and it's got to be all good and better. And the guy can't die, but then he does. Surgeon will suffer all the time. So it's like just doing your best with the task at the time, with um as much sort of not self and objectivity as you can muster, and just keep moving along, knowing that samsara, endless. Don't worry too much about your checklist, and maybe get like how you have your special notepad for your checklist and you write at the top, nothing to accomplish. And you actually read it every time you make the checklist. Maybe it'll help. I don't know. Try coffee, bad. Okay, A1.
So, so now I want to hear from you. Questions, comments. I feel like when people ask questions, it really teases out the depths.
Can you say one?
No pressure. Don't accomplish that.
Can you say one thing in response to Ajahn?
Yeah, please do.
First you, Ajahn.
Just Rook, did we get to go to 10:30?
Yes.
Okay. Just one quick thing. I love what you said, and I love checklists and like figuring out how to do both. I mean, could have a whole sub YouTube channel called Checklist Dhamma.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's not do that.
But a very elegant, a very graceful, perhaps like the most graceful checklist, and a way of relating to it, which I find really helpful, which I would like to share, because since I came into my life, it's had a profound daily effect. Is so just every time you bow, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and you're having to track that. Like we are on some level tracking how many times we bow. It's a very simple, very elegant. It is a checklist, and one way to relate to that, to blend both the accomplishing, doing aspect of practice and the receptive aspect, is dedicating each one of those bows. So I take refuge in the Buddha for the accomplishment of Nibbana. Or if you're on a different path, or that's not in this life. So for me, it is, I take refuge in the Buddha for the accomplishment, for attaining of Nibbana. So it's my long-term highest spiritual goal. And look for yourself, what is your longest term, highest spiritual goal? And you want to be bowing to that every day. And it is an accomplishment. It is a doing. It's something that you look off. If you're swimming across, an ocean to get to the island, you have to be checking, every fifth stroke or so. Okay, am I headed in the right direction? I take refuge in the Buddha for the accomplishment, my highest goal, Nibbana. The second one, the Dhamma, second vow, I take refuge in the Dhamma for participating in the apparent here and now, timeless Dhamma. So this is the mode of non-accomplishment. may I fully participate every moment, this one, as I bow, every moment throughout the day, participating in this ehipassiko, akaliko Dhamma, which the Buddha said the Dhamma is apparent here and now, timeless. He also said Nibbana is apparent here and now, timeless, encouraging investigation, leading inwards. So in that, I take refuge in the Dhamma. So this is our personal present moment goal. And then the Sangha is present moment, interpersonal social goal. So I take refuge in the Sangha for the benefit and happiness of all beings. So first, I take refuge in the Buddha, highest personal goal. Second, I take refuge in the Dhamma for the present moment, whatever your present moment goal is. Like right now, I want to listen better. Right now, I want to be more participatory, less self. And then the last, I take refuge in the Sangha for whatever your communal goal is, for the benefit and happiness of my family, for the benefit and happiness of the robed Sangha, for the benefit of happiness of all beings. And yeah, if you've got a daily practice of bowing, why not make it more intentional and yeah, really indicative of your highest goals? And it's a really powerful practice. And if you don't bow every day, you're missing out. So yeah, just tiny thing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's not a tiny thing.
It's not,
Let's,
it's
let's
not
pick
tiny.
that up and do that.
So I hope I do it for the rest of.
But it makes me think the long-term goal may not be so long-term. You keep doing that because it's really right there in the Dhamma. Right there in that second one. It's here, it's now.
Sadhu. Yeah.
Please.
Just I have access to Ajahn Kovilo's online Trello board with his to-do list, and it's an amazing to-do list of like it's like bow for like bow 56 times and like recite this many it's really beautiful.
Yours is beautiful.
I add things to it like send this email, but I feel a little bad every time.
This is actually useful.
But also just to say, I think one difference between chanda and tanha is tanha craving the source of suffering is goal oriented, and chanda rejoices in the movement in the moment, like the akaliko, the moment. And also, like, it is really interesting that idea of grace. And like you saying the bar is high, like if I try to give a teaching like Ajahn Kovilo does, it just doesn't work. Like it really, the flavor is totally different. And yet, like, it's interesting to see when people really touch their own dharmic conditioned strength, it's like the perfect note in the mix. And somehow that's very much the case. And so just honoring that, like having your teachings here it's just like the perfect kind of burst of color and depth and just directness and just it's interesting how accomplishment implies a bar we're setting conceptually, and that does have to be set down to some extent to find that movement of grace. So yeah, just honoring that.
Beautiful.
I sometimes try to do poetry or speak from the heart.
No heart, no, a lot of heart.
I love our differences. I mean, like, yeah, it's just so much better together.
I agree, for sure.
Okay. What do you think out there, in here? Anything?
Steve?
Yeah.
Shane.
Oh, it's Shane. The pictures are very small because
Yeah. Good morning. I first I gotta say that it really makes my heart happy seeing you four there, and it just really makes me happy. So and it's really good to see you, Ajahns, Nisabho, and Kovilo. Anyway, my question is, in terms of accomplishment, I've heard a couple of times that there's nothing to accomplish. In my mind, like I don't understand that. Can you kind of break that down a little bit and kind of maybe give me a little bit more information on that? Because like when at work, I have a list of things that I need to get done, and if I don't get those done, I could lose my job. And so, I don't really, and another thing, I don't really understand doing stuff for the sake of doing it. So when I part of my conditioning is like, if I don't do this, there's going to be negative consequences for not getting this done. So this is really kind of questioning some of the paradigm that I have in my head. I just was kind of wondering if you could break this down a little bit more for me. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, who wants to?
Rock, paper, scissors again.
I'll say one small thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to say, like, I think that phrase, there's nothing to accomplish, because at the end of the day, there really is, like, Nibbana is to be. But I think here we're using this word, like, the sense, like, it conveys, and using it as maybe as skillful. And you can correct me if this is not how you're conceiving of it. But just the weight and flavor of that word accomplish, or how it can be held in. There's moments where really stepping back from the sense of pushing and doing and external accomplishment towards internal purification, is a beautiful movement of the heart and can be catalyzed by that this recollection. I'd say one really interesting simile is the Buddha says, there's a sutta called the Ads, where the Buddha says that even if one did not have the thought, may I attain awakening here and now, if one is practicing the 7 factors of awakening, the Noble Eightfold Path, then just as a carpenter using an adze every day would not know, today this much of the handle wore away, and today this much of the handle wore away. Even so, after a number of days, he'd look at the handle of the adze and see the imprints of his fingers and what had worn away. So the defilements wear away steadily towards awakening, even if one is not always fixated on the goal. And I think that's beautiful in first that it really states, like, if we're practicing well here and now, this is where the practice is, and not necessarily fixated on the goal. Although we do, like Ajahn Kovilo said, make sure we're oriented towards that, at regular intervals. That the practice is right here and now, and it will develop of its own accord. But what I also find really meaningful there is, it's really easy for that carpenter to be so fixated on the hard metal blade and the exact thing he's working on that he forgets that the real work is that soft handle of self wearing away by the hand. Like, you can completely miss that that's what's wearing away. And even so, like, yeah, you go about your work and your job and caring for your family. And if you become completely fixated on the results there, it's a no-win gain. Samsara is always falling apart. But if you remember that each of those is a path towards, using appropriate attention and mindfulness, wearing away the sense of self, then, no matter what happens out there, something profound is being let go of here. And that's the only path that has an end. It's the handle wearing away. So yeah, you might end up with a chair and a table made, or maybe the table breaks and you do a bad job on, whatever carpentry. But either way, if you're keep maintaining appropriate attention, and the handle of the adze hopefully is worn away with those warm grooves of the human fingers. So that's just one thought.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I th I think Shane, first of all, yeah, you do the work you're supposed to do, and you do it in the way that you can to try to fulfill it. It's like always, we still do these things, and it's the right thing to do these things that we're supposed to accomplish. And all of this means that there's nothing to accomplish, just means if we think that it's something that I'm adding to my sense of self, like, oh, I got this degree, I got this college degree, and I can think, oh yeah, I did that. But if I think of it as I'm a college graduate, it's got this, whatever, sense of self with it. So it's more about the way we hold things. It's not that we change what we're doing. We change how we're doing it. If we're doing it with a lot of tension and stress and worry, like I was saying about the result, And then we suffer all the way along. But if we can do it as, I'm going to give this gift, I'm going to do this checklist today at work, I'm going to provide this is a gift to my boss, this is a gift to whoever's going to use this, whatever you're doing. This is a gift to just the workings of this company, and I'm giving it. I'm giving it instead of gutting it out, instead of when we can have all kinds of mental states around our work. So I don't know, does that help?
Yeah, it sort of sounds like what you guys were saying was it's about how you perceive or just like working with the dukkha of so like with me there was a lot of times in my life that if I don't get these things, these certain things done, that there's going to be negative consequences, and that is kind of, getting things done at work or wherever has kind of turned into kind of a defensive mechanism for me. So it sounds like what you're saying is maybe look at that and kind of work with, the suffering in there and kind of maybe shift the perception to, a more wholesome perception. This is a gift, and it's very beautiful, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shane. Yeah, we have to get practical about things because we need to be able to see how do we do this ourselves. Yeah, thank you, Shane. Suzanne?
Well, I want to thank all of you so much. It felt like for this teaching, it felt like y'all were like different bands of rainbow. And it was really beautiful. I'm not sure what this question is. It's something about time and impermanence and how those connect, because I think y'all are all touching on that. And I noticed sometimes in the practice, yeah, it's something about time. If you have anything to say about that, accomplishment.
Right?
So, let me understand better. So you're saying it has like a feeling of time, like you have to do a task in this amount of time, or it's just time bound, or there's some kind of is that what you're?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something about the mind having a thought,
Mhm.
and then there's an awareness of the impermanence.
Uh-huh.
So it's how all of those kind of blend together. I think it's kind of the same question that Shane asked in a way. It's all the same, isn't
Yeah.
it? But I just wonder, like, because there's awareness of time a lot,
Uh-huh.
and how that seems to add on to the pressure of accomplishing.
That's right. Yeah. It does. So, time is not what we think it is anyway, right? We've been having this discussion here with Doug, I think, a few times, and I think other people were around at one point. It's like time is not so linear. It's not really um the things that are time bound in samsara, it doesn't matter. You know, really, it's like, yeah, you have to get this task done by X amount of time. And so much in the business world, I think it's like really artificial deadlines for things. Medical, not so much. Sometimes, stop the bleeding now. It's different. It's different. But yeah, it's just like what time does, like you're saying, Suzanne, it's adding a lot of pressure. And how many eons we've been doing this at this point, like how long I've probably been, many, many lifetimes doing this in the robes and haven't done it yet. And I'm not stressed out about the time because it's more about um, putting the right effort in the right place, I think. So it's just like if you're whatever tasks are at hand, if you're putting in the proper effort and you're doing the best you can and you're not attaching to this task as mine and I am doing this, then you're gonna be okay. Don't worry about the time. Especially, we have so many retired folks. You got a lot of time. It's good. Go, Suzanne. I don't know. Someone say something profound over there.
I liked that.
But Ajahn has something to say.
I could, but
Yes.
Better be profound.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll make some.
She was being supportive before.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
No, I love what you said. I mean, so much of it is the company we keep in the society in which we live. Their perceptions bleed off into our own hearts and minds in ways we don't even realize. Like you might be thinking like, okay, not talking, thinking about non-accomplishment. That's easy enough for a bunch of monks to say, because you don't have anything to do. You actually don't have to accomplish anything.
That's not true.
Yeah. But yes, totally false. Totally false. But yeah, there are very toxic cultures which really do, the bottom line is the bottom line. And it's so easy to forget the human. So if one's able to shape one's life to live with other people who say like you do, like actually, you can handle everything a lot more lightly. And the Buddha did talk, again, another paradox. The Buddha did talk about being one who knows the time, being a kalanyu, being someone who knows time.
Well, I want to know more about this because
Yeah.
Ajahn Gunna says this a lot, and I don't know what the heck he's talking about.
Well, there's a fascinating sutta that's in the Anguttara, maybe 70s, called the Dhammanyu Sutta. So just to counterpose that with what you see again and again, what is the Dhamma? The Dhamma is timeless, akaliko. You got akaliko, timelessness, which is also an attribute and epithet of Nibbana. So Nibbana, the Dhamma is timeless, but the Buddha also said you have to know time, just as you have to know different groups of people, you have to know the measure of food, the measure of medicine, or whatever it is. So you need to know time. And he said, what is knowing time? It's when there's the time for chanting, and it's just a monastic context, you chant. When it's the time for meditation, you chant. When it's the time for going on alms round, you
meditate.
You meditate, whatever. It's the right time.
Chant all the time.
Okay. You have to know. You have to know the right time. So there are these different, while knowing timelessness, while knowing the Dhamma, and aiming and inclining and being into a stillness, which is, its most profound Nibbana, you still have to, there are things to do, and there is a different level of happening. So you have to know time. And when you figure that out, maybe that's the key. So figuring out exactly what you're pointing to might be a final breakthrough. So, Ajahn?
Did you have something
Profound,
to add?
profound. Yeah.
I love the timelessness. Those examples I gave of taking care of the person after surgery or helping with the retreat I wasn't on the schedule. I didn't have to be anybody. I could just, okay, you want me to do that? Oh, it looks like I could help here. Okay. It's like there's a feeling of timelessness, I think, when we're in that mode. But in meditation, sometimes it is possible to know that time is only a convention, and that timelessness, that it's all happening now. It's all happening now. All the past lives, it's now. It's like, how's that go again? In normal consciousness, you can't make sense of it, but it's like, because this samsara is about time. This is the time realm, not the timeless realm. The time realm has a past, a present, and a future. The time is all about aging and disintegrating and arising and disintegrating. And this is why we're all sort of stuck in this time thing. But when we step out of that, when we see all of this as not only impermanent, but non-substantial, it's just like energy, or it's just passing images. It's like when we recognize conventional reality from that position, there is no time. So it's like, yeah, that's where that's where we're all headed, I think.
Sort of dovetailing off what you're saying, Ayya, just when we're touching into that timeless place, Longpa Sucitto says after a while time stopped having meaning for him and just the shifts in the chitta is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it really strikes me that that's, we come into this practice at the beginning and we've tied our hearts to the conditioned realm so much that the ups and downs really do seem like time. Like things go up and they go down, they go up and go down. And it's like you're tracking your life on this XY axis. And it's so interesting that when you start to practice, because your chitta is being less affected by the movements of the external world, because there's less craving and upadana attachment, the shifts in the chitta become much more subtle and much more associated just with dharmic path and knowing, and the sense of time becomes like still flowing water, like it's moving, but there's a stillness and a resonance to it. And I mean, you can just see that very clearly with like a state of samadhi, like one of the deepest states of samadhi, Venerable Sariputta, the state of cessation of perception and feeling. He says you actually have to establish when you're going to come out of it before you go in, because time disappears completely. Like the chitta is just Nibbana, I mean, or something. But I think we all get a taste of that when it's like instead of just the XY axis, suddenly we begin to move through a whole new Z axis of the chitta brightening and strengthening and stilling. And somehow that process is not static either, in the sense that just like Ajahn Chah would use this simile of a bottle of water. If we're always shaking it, the dust and the water all mixing together and the color dye. But all you have to do is stop shaking it and the dust settles to the bottom and the water becomes clear. And so that, there's no, the accomplishment mind thinks like, okay, to purify my heart, I've got to like scoop up this water and like, what are you going to, you just have to stop shaking the bottle. And somehow time, the sense of time shifts completely too. And I think we all have that experience, like when you're, are caretaking for someone or the self's out of the way, time is this fluid stillness that the chitta is just in this complete, bright, still space of giving and relinquishment, and time disappears too. So I think you pointing to time that's a really interesting angle, and it's, I think, true. And yeah, when you meditate, there's time for chanting, you chant. When it's time for meditation, you chant.
Wow.
We live next to each other, and we're not always chanting. It's true. It's good, yeah.
So when you write poetry, do you lose sense of time? Does it go away ever?
It's, for me, the creative act, and Ajahn Viradhamma says this is a sense of mudita. And it is rejoicing and communion. And in the Christian language, there's two words for time. There's chronos, worldly time, and kairos, which is sacred or deep time. And those are such good words, because like what makes time sacred? And for me, it's relational. It's also like ritual does it. And in the sense, like sankhara, in Vedic terminology, it was used for the word for ritual also. And what happens if we can turn our like sankhara in the pattern, unwholesome sense into every sankhara as a ritual of sanctity again and again and again and again. And then maybe it's all framed in kairos and we never lose kairos completely, Yeah, just some thoughts.
Profound enough? Here we are, Lynn.
Wow, there's a lot there.
Thank goodness we're recording it. I can go back and listen later.
That's exactly what. But okay. I think I try to give up completely any kind of attainment. Attainment starts to feel like a bad word, an unskillful word. To attain anything, like why attain anything? I've been trying to spend more time in the present, and the other thing is awareness, like awareness in the present. That's what I'm working on. I think that's what, with the goal that, if that's a goal, aspiration, whatever, that I'll be aware when Nibbana arrives in the present. It's not like I want to attain it, because I won't be there. Like there won't be a self to attain Nibbana. Like how can you attain it if and
I think Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just so many words, so many words. Like, and one more, a little thing. When somebody said, oh, you retired people have all the time. We actually have less time because we're closer to the door, right? We presume we have less time. So what's time? Like it's
Mm.
the only time is now, I think. Am I on the wrong track here? I'm just
I think you're on the right track, Marilyn, and you were searching for a word for the way you are with the present moment. And I think it's right intention. I think the right intention is the way we are with the present moment. And then we're solid.
And there was that thing about grace. So interestingly, just recently, someone asked Ajahn Jeff if there's grace. And he paused for a minute or so and said, no.
All right.
That's his
And then he said,
that's his life.
the closest thing to grace is our good karma. We have good karma coming from the past, from things we've done in the past, and there's like grace. Good stuff happens, just happens to us because of our karma.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, just too many words. Enough.
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you.
Let's try to get Paula and Regina in if we can.
Yeah, go for it, Paula.
Hey everyone, I hope you can hear me because I think the mic is on the camera. So
I can hear you.
good. I first wanted to acknowledge from not myself, and not even the self of the Karuna Buddhist Vihara community, but I'm saying we are a community, and I'm feeling very grateful for the community of Clear Mountain Monastery having come, and I don't know who's still there from that work crew besides you two, because I don't know who's in the room, but I wanted to just on behalf of our Clear Mountain Karuna Buddhist Vihara, thank all of those people that are working to create this new kuti, because I just have a feeling one day I'll be sleeping in it. And all of us might have that option, or at least have more breathing space when we come visit. And so thank you so much. And if anyone in the Karuna Buddhist Vihara wants to join me in this thanks, you can just send some hearts up. It'll be kind of fun. In your little, yeah.
Oh, I'm remembering how you came to Winthrop
Right.
and helped us out.
I think of that time very frequently and fondly. Thank you, Sarah. So then the other thing that I wanted to bring up is to kind of shift gears in terms of thoughts of not self, because we've been roaming around that topic as well. And lately, my observations have frequently brought up when I am selfing. And then I have UFOs, uncomfortable feeling observations. Thank you very much for that wording, Ayya Cittananda. And then I have like this terrible sort of, oh, you bad self you. And I know that that's not healthy either, right? And then if I'm meditating, sometimes if that comes up, I can switch to metta. But it happens so many times during the day, which I guess is a good thing, that it gets to be difficult to work with. And I wondered if you could help me with that.
Say something about vacation. I think it's just a matter of patience and seeing if, and I don't know, maybe for you, metta is the right response, but it also could be karuna. Like just talking to Ajahn Pasano recently, one of the things he said is that impulse of karuna, of compassion, is so important and really vital to awakening. that when we see the unwholesome, whether it's in ourselves or someone else, if that response is compassion, that really is essential to waking up. And seeing if you can have that compassion for this process here that has its conditioning. And we didn't ask for all that conditioning, and it's really like a whole conglomeration of what comes socially and what we're hearing in the environment and all of the things from the past and who knows how many lifetimes and all that stuff and all kinds of things we have no control over. So that kind of conditioning that wants perfection or wants to be good all the time that's got its good side. But then when we take it to kind of beating ourselves up or feeling bad about things that arise in us, as you notice, it's not helpful and it's downpulling and it's unnecessary. So if we can just kind of reflect on that a little bit and see where the compassion can arise, I think that could really be useful. Regina?
Yes, I was going to share a little bit something from my practice, which is so I'll meditate or I'll focus on being just patient for a while or something, right? And then eventually it's either impatience will rise up, it will just rise up, and I might be able to divert it into something else, or it will just come up. So when can I be done? And that can get really strong. And I just wanted to share this because I think I'm probably not the only one, sort of when it's like I have to be patient at work about something and then something else goes wrong and it feels challenging, or I'll make a mistake on top of it, right? And eventually I just get to that point where I want to blow steam. And I think then patience, or what you just said, sort of compassion, is really, really important because if I don't realize that, I will blow off steam. And if I realize it, I can step away back. But also what I notice is that the deep conditioning towards tasks and towards being done. I just want to be done sometimes, and then I ask myself, so what's next? Now you're done. Are you happy now?
Yeah. Not wanting to be done is vibhava tanha. We want to be done with it. We want to push it away. We want it to be over. And
exactly. Yeah. It just comes out of the blue. So I will be quiet now.
Well, Regina, that was wonderful sharing. And I feel like each thing that arises, we have the opportunity to be present with it. So I can be present with that desire to be done. And I'm a human being, so I have more available to give to being present with that. Even though I want to be done, I have the endurance to be with it a little longer. And if I'm present with it instead of in it, if I can see it, and it's you're noticing it. If you can see it, you don't have to respond out of that space. It's coming to it from Dhamma. Beautiful. Thank you. Well, everyone, today we are sending our guests off right now, like in 2 minutes. So today we're not going to check in, I'm sorry to say, but yeah, we'll be if there's anything you want us to know about, you can send us a message. Movements that are happening in your life or in your practice. And I also want to apologize for not answering email lately. So don't feel left out. You're not alone if you sent me a message and you haven't gotten anything back. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, James. Thank you, Ayya. Thank you all. Neil, what did you?
I think we'll use the talk title that Ajahn Nisabho came up with. to you? Because Neil might be talking about he's our title dude. Is that
Uh,
it? Neil?
Well, no, I was thinking for the guided meditation, finding the Four Noble Truths in the body would be a great title. But I did want to make a comment that the word grace came up, and it's not really a word I understood the definition of, so I looked it up. A simple elegance or refinement of movement, courteous goodwill, that's as a noun, and as a verb, to do honor or credit to someone or something by one's presence. And it occurred to me, not to contradict Ajahn Jeff, but it seems to me that grace covers the Brahma Viharas.
I think you're onto something, Neil.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely note to end on.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence, Neil.
Yes.
Yeah, and all of you and all of everyone. So, if you're local, we've got some more work to do on the Kuti.
If you want to come play with power tools,
Want to come help put in the windows? If you can stabilize a ladder or lift a window, you have enough skills.
So you have the drills.
We got the drills.
You don't need skills.
Just think about it. And let us.
Adorable and funny.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Everybody,
Travels.
thank you. Thanks for the warm welcome.